Ranak everybody, we will talk about Ansys. This is another video from the list from Ansys Workbench course, and today we will talk about Ansys Workbench introduction, and we also will talk about first part about quick review of Ansys Workbench. So if you heard my assistant and sometimes it close the web camera and mic. So we will talk about some review of Ansys Workbench Project Manager, and there are several ways to launch Ansys Workbench. There are several ways to work with it, to save project, open, archive project, to create different type of analysis and some analysis objects, how to understand different stage of analysis, how to edit units, and how to work with parameters. All these questions need more detailed view, so we would spend some video to describe more detailed information about different type of analysis, about working with parameter and so on. And also we would repeat this video in the end of this course, but with more detailed information when we already will know how Ansys Workbench Project Manager work, why do we need them, and so on. So first of all, we need to talk about launching of Ansys Workbench, and there are only two ways to launch. It's from Start menu and from integration with CAD system. If you try to work with Start menu, you can find Ansys here, but you will spend a lot of time to find Ansys Workbench or Ansys Mechanical or products that you need. So maybe the most common and most useful method is to start typing. For example, when you press the start button and start typing Workbench, and Windows will help you and show some products that contain words that you type. So you can find Workbench or Mechanical or Space Claim or any other product much faster and much better. About CAD integration, it's a second type, and it depends on CAD systems that you are using. Ansys can integrate it with different software. For example, here you can find integration with Autodesk Fusion 360. In most cases, if you have integration with some CAD system, you will see the panel on a ribbon or on a toolbox, and those panels contain several buttons. It's button for help, which will explain to you how to work with this plugin, and the button for starting Ansys Workbench, Ansys Mechanical, or maybe some additional software, and how to create named selection. Named selection, it's a very cool tool that allow you to better integrate your model with your analysis with Ansys. So we will talk about named selection much later, but this is very powerful tool. So additional information here, you can see how Ansys Workbench look like on a Space Claim. This our button which start Ansys product from Space Claim, and this is how Workbench panel look like in Siemens NX. From Annex, for example, you can start not only Workbench but Ansys Discovery. From Space Claims, there are no reason to start Discovery, but you can start not only Workbench but Mechanical or Fluent as the most useful product. Also, we need to say that if you use version before latest, for example, if you use Ansys 14 or Ansys 18, I don't remember clearly, you can start Ansys Mechanical from the scratch. You need to start Ansys Workbench, add there some type of analysis, and only then start Ansys Mechanical. From some moment, you can start Ansys Mechanical from CAD system. You can start Ansys Mechanical from your start menu and start Ansys Workbench, add Ansys Mechanical into your project, open Mechanical, and show you only Mechanical. Workbench would be not in front, but in back side of Ansys Mechanical. So it have some advanced techniques, and you can use different type. Also, we need to say that Ansys can integrate with almost full list of general CAD system, which are very useful and very popular in CAD market for CAD designer. You can integrate your Ansys with Ansys CAD Configuration Manager, with AutoCAD, Dassault System CATIA version 4, 5, and 6, with PTC Creo parametric, which earlier have name Pro Engineer, and Creo Elements Creo Direct, which previously have name Co-Create. Also, you can integrate Ansys with Fusion 360, with Autodesk Fusion 360, with Autodesk Inventor, with Siemens NX and Siemens Solid Edge, with Dassault Systems SolidWorks, and with Ansys Space Claim. Additionally, you can import from JT standard. It's not a CAD system, it's natural format, but it's based on ProSolid and it has some additional features. So here it present as additional model. Some of this CAD system you can't configure because you doesn't have license. License, for example, for CATIA cost some money and not so small money as many users want. You can have different type of integration. The most simple type of integration is to read original CAD format. You doesn't need to have an CAD, those type of CAD on your computer. You can read directly those format from your HDD. And second possibility is to have more deep integration with Workbench. It's not reader, but it's integration. It's a plugin which integrate into CAD system and allow you to send parameters, send named selection and some materials and some additional information from your CAD to Ansys Workbench. You need to understand that you can open all this format and some additional formats from Space Claim or Discovery. But when you open this format in Space Claim or Discovery, you can lose some information. You can lose parametric information and so on. So it's not a direct integration with CAD and Ansys. Having a reader or interface with your CAD system, it's very, very important. Additionally, you need to understand that if you have a reader, you can open the latest format, the latest version of those CAD files, which can be opened in Ansys. If you have integration with CAD system and you doesn't have the latest version of CAD system and try to open latest version of CAD file, you can have some problems and errors. So you can reconfigure your CAD configuration in any moment. For example, to open some new files from new CAD version. Additionally, we need to say that unfortunately, there are some problems and some pause in supporting of latest version of CAD system in Ansys. So, for example, if you have the latest version of Ansys, for example, 2022 R1, and try to open SolidWorks 2022, which was start to selling in the end of September or in the start of October, and Ansys 2022 R1 was released after those SolidWorks. It's sometimes you can't open the latest SolidWorks version. So be careful with this, and if you doesn't have possibility, try to use some natural format. Okay, it's about CAD integration. So Workbench, something like that. It's how Ansys Workbench window look like. It have several places. It have main menu bar. It has main toolbar. It have some buttons from menu bar. It have some tabs when you have possibility to work with project, with engineering data, with design exploration, and some other features of your project. It will appear here. You can work with Toolbox. It's a place when you have all type of analysis and all type of objects that you can add to your project schematic window. This is project schematic window. This is project tab, and this is one. And this is objects that was added from Toolbox. There are several type of tasks. There are several type of tools. Here is analysis from analysis system. It's type of product from custom system and so on. You can add a lot of different type of object to your project schematic, and you can create a visual schema that explain how those different objects are connected to each other. For example, here we have static structural analysis that connected with model analysis, and those model analysis take information about materials from static structural, take geometry and mesh model from static structural. So we would work with the same geometry and mesh model on both those type of analysis. And also we have additional link that send information from static structural about deformation and stresses and strains to model analysis to do pre-stressed model analysis. You can link a lot of different type of analysis and object, and you can send geometry, mesh model, some results from one to another. For example, you can send pressure, temperature from CFD analysis to structural analysis. You can send deformation of construction from structural analysis to CFD analysis. You can do couplet analysis and many other things. Additionally, you can see properties of different objects, of different item of this object, and so on. You can see status. Does Workbench work in current moment, or it wait your command? You can use a lot of different tools, a lot of different tools from menu bar and so on, and we would talk about this later. So here more modern and more complete Ansys Workbench window. We can see not only 3 objects, one of them are independent and 2 of them are connected. We can see also component system. We can see also messages with error, warnings, and so on. And we can see files from this project. We will talk about this later. So, if we see here, we can see that different point, different item has different icons. We can see here something like that. And this we have static structures that fully done. We see all marks that all done. And here we can see some marks that done, some marks that have problems, some marks that say something interesting to us, and we need to understand what those marks say to us. So these all marks that you can see in Ansys Workbench. The most good icon goes most good stage is up to date, all up to date. But even if some stage, some item, this is different stage, this is different item. So even if some stage have up to date mark, some stage can have other marks. So unfulfilled, it means that we doesn't have information, any information here. We create, for example, object analysis, and we doesn't do anything. So we have a lot of unfulfilled item. We have not do anything to this stage. Attention required. It's also a question, but we already do something on this stage. We open this item, we change some information, but we have some problems. Maybe we don't add some information that we need on this stage. Maybe our project was updated, and during updating we lost some data. Refresh required and update required. It's a two type of updating and refreshing, but it works with some difference. Refresh, it's check situation with stages. Update, send this stage to work. Refresh doesn't send to work, it's only check status. Update, send to work. So something like that. Input changes pending. It means that we have some information that we create. Everything good with those information, for example, but in some reason we need to do some updating. We need to wait that Ansys will work with those information to change those status from input changes pending to up to date. If we send to update and refreshing, if something in process, we can see some of this icon. It can say that we are pending changes, that we start to create an update, but we interrupt this process. We was done something, but in some reason we have problem and we need to update. And if we have some problems, they show to us different type of icons with X mark. So we have problem and we need to open a warning and messages and error window, check them more carefully and understand what we need to do and do some changes to our project. How to work with Toolbox and how to create different analysis type. On a Toolbox, we have some collection. It calls analysis system. Here it is, analysis system, and all analysis, all objects that you can find on analysis system. The second is component system. Here you can find all tools from component system, and custom system you can find here, and from design exploration you can find here. Analysis system, it's ready to use type of analysis. Any object, it's ready to use object. You add this object and you start work with them stage by stage. Component system, it's tools that not fully independent. They need some information from other point and they can be used in different type of analysis. For example, you can see that static structural, if we create static structural object, it look like that. This is our static structural object. And this static structural object contain item and stage which called engineering data. And this engineering data we can find here on component system. Geometry we can also find here. This is our geometry object. And this is our discovery object, it's also geometry. And we can find some other objects, for example, mechanical model. Here you can find mechanical model. And as you see, we have that our static structural object have some different objects from component system, and those all objects are have preference to work as one object, as one solution. If we would try to create different type of analysis, for example, fluid flow, we have something that will look the same but work with some other way because they use some different tools from this component system. Custom system, it's additional tool that create connected several connected objects. For example, a pre-stressed model, as we say previously on previous slide, create static structural and model analysis which connected one to each other. FSI fluid flow creates two objects, fluid flow and static structural, which connected one to each other. You can create those type of connection by your hand, but you can use some pre-created items, and also you can create those custom systems if you need them. Design exploration, it's very interesting tools for create parametric analysis system synthesis and optimization of your design or investigation parametric of your tasks, problems, and those parameters can be from geometry data, from analysis data, from result, from materials, from different boundary conditions, from mesh, and so on. So all those objects have possibility to create parameters, and these parameters can be input parameters, and these parameters can be output parameters. So you can use them with design exploration with different type. We'll talk about design exploration later. And now we talk about links. So there are two types of links. This type of link creates a link with geometry, and we use one geometry for fluid flow geometry and for static structural. We can suppress some objects here and here, and this can be different suppressed object because we have different meshes model, but we can use one type of geometry, one geometry objects to both of these tasks. And these geometry are not independent, that this geometry are in dependency with this geometry. So if we need to change this geometry, we need not to click here, but click here. And those purple link are some other type of link. It's not say that we connect this solution and this solution, and we use all things that we create here. Not. We create solution, we get result, and we send result from this solution to this setup. So for this solution, those results that we sent here is output data. For those setup, all this data will be input. We can change and choose what type of data we can import from object B from fluid flow solution, and how to apply it for our static structural task. Also, we need to understand that those results are not separate objects. So we don't send result from here to setup. We send from solution, because result is a model for showing result. We obtain those results on a stage of solution. Result is post-processing of result which obtained on a solution stage. Okay, so we have different type of links, and we can see it. For example, those two are not connected, and those two are connected. Files. So during analysis, Ansys Workbench and Ansys Product create bunch series of files, a lot of files. They have a lot of files for any type of object, and some type of files for different stages. Those files can be saved anywhere in your computer or your network. This file can be very different size, so sometimes it's very useful check on the menu bar, view menu, and files to see the whole list of files of this product, where they place it, open those files if you need them, and work with them in those ways that we need. So we can save as, open, and archive project. Save and open project, it's almost like any kind of application. We can save where we want and how we want. Save as, save a copy of this project. And I can say short tips for you. Firstly, try to save your project on a HDD or your storage with higher speed. If you have on your laptop or your workstation two type of storage system, SSD and HDD, please save your project on SSD. It will do all work with your project, even calculation, much faster than on HDD. If you can't save on SSD storage because it's small, for example, try to use SCSI sorry for pause. I'm bad with English. So try to use SCSI storage system with duplication with parallel save material, because they much faster than several HDD. If you can use your local HDD, it's much better than try to use network storage, even if the storage are faster and bigger in size, because you will save not with the speed of the storage, but with the speed of your network connection, with a lot of pauses and so on, if you will use network storage. So try to use local storage and most storage that have maximum speed. Only after that you end all solution, you can change the place of your project. For example, save it to more to storage system with much more places and much more volume, but with lower speed. That's all that I need to say about saving project. But archiving project is another very good tool from Ansys. You can archive all your project data into one file, because a lot of people try to send to other people Ansys Workbench project with only file of project, without all those files that we see here. Only with VBPG file, Workbench project. And those files will be small and you can't open it because it doesn't have any additional information. Archive is the best way to store your archive, to send your archive to other people. And you have additional possibility. You can send into archive with different preferences of level of archiving. That's the first thing. And second, you can send full project, or for example, ready to solve project, but without result that you obtain on your computer. Those archive, second archive, without result will have less volume, and you can send it much faster, and it will spend less place on your storage. And yes, you need to resolve all this project, but this project are already solved, so it's only spent short time, something like that. Okay. Engineering data. It's second tab. Here you can find NC project tab, and here we open engineering data tab from static structure, for example, and we have a possibility to create different type of analysis material. We can use different material properties. We can add all this material to our material model. We can edit them. We can add, for example, dependence of some properties from temperature. Also, with this button engineering data sources, we can use big material database which have a lot of material data for different type of analysis. And here you can choose one of this material database. Here you can see materials from those database. Here you can see different information about this material. You can click add and add material from different database. You can add your own database, and you can create one database for most commonly used materials in your company and use this database with all analysts. So also we can work with parameters. Here you can see how would look like our project if they have parameters, and you can see that we have input parameters, some, and output parameters from this task. And if we open this parameter set, we open additional tab, and this tab can help you to work with design exploration tools, with changing your parameters, input parameters. This is two parameters that we can change. One of them from geometry, second from the static structural analysis. It's force. And this is result deformation and equivalent von Mises stress that we have for different type of analysis. So it's very cool things and very powerful tool. We would talk about this one later, and we would create additional course about design exploration parameters, but it would be much later. Units. We can work with our physical model, and we can change units for better understanding of our task. There are some created unit system, and all this unit system shown here. We can change it in Workbench, we can change it in Ansys Mechanical. We can choose this option unit system and create our own model. We can export unit system. We can, if we create a user-defined system, for example, by duplicating some of them, we would can to change all these units and create a very different type of unit system that you need if you doesn't like those type. Also, you can change what type of unit system we will use by default, and what type of system we would see here on a unit list. So that's the first video about Ansys Workbench, and we talk about what do we have in Ansys Workbench. We doesn't show work with Ansys Workbench. We'll do this in a second video in live regime. Thank you for your attention, and see you later.